Tori here. I just want to check in with you before I hit play on this episode and see how you are feeling about your pet business this December. Are you feeling maybe a little overwhelmed? Join the club. And that is why I really want to invite you to attend my final Petpreneur virtual networking event of the year. It's happening on Wednesday, December 11th, and it's totally free to attend. This is an awesome chance to connect with other pet business owners who really get you and your business and make meaningful connections to set us up for a strong start to the new year. RSVP for this free event at wearwagrepeat.com/petworking. I promise to make it really fun and easy, even if you are an introverted petpreneur. I have conversation starters and breakout rooms to make this petworking event really fun. I hope to see you there. Again, it's wearwagrepeat.com/petworking.
Preparation. I mean, it kind of falls under this giant umbrella of general preparation. Whether you're networking in person or virtually, it doesn't matter. The level of preparation that you might need or I might need is not the same. What we find to be uncomfortable about networking or having a conversation is it's all different. It's situational, and you have other things going on in your life too, personally.
Hi, I'm Tori Mystic, and you're listening to the Wear Wag Repeat podcast, the only show dedicated to supporting women in all areas of the pet industry. In today's episode, I am talking with super connector Stacy Pong. It's actually a funny story. We met through a virtual networking event that was not related to pets at all. And in one of our little breakout rooms, I found out that Stacy actually is a networking expert, and she even runs her own membership about networking. So it felt like it was meant to be for her to be the final podcast guest to wrap up the networking and collaboration theme of this quarter here in Wear Wag Repeat. If you missed it, there are 2 previous guest episodes in October and November, and then I also have some solo ones kind of sprinkled in there, all about how to use networking, partnerships, and collaboration to grow your pet business. In this conversation, I loved talking to Stacy because she's not directly in the pet industry, although she does have an adorable corgi named Hashbrown. I have found that getting business and marketing ideas from people outside of our industry can be really inspiring, and it ensures that you're not doing the same thing as every other dog trainer or pet sitter or pet blogger out there. Stacy shares some actionable tips on how to make the most of networking, even if you are introverted. She gives us some example questions that you can use the next time that you find yourself in the middle of some awkward small talk. I also loved Stacy's advice about being sticky. You're going to have to listen more to hear about that, and I think it will get your brainstorming wheels turning. It definitely did for me because I blurted out some ridiculous ideas in the middle of the interview. So if you want to talk to me and brainstorm about some ideas on how to make the most of networking or collaborations or how to make yourself and your brand more sticky, that is exactly what we do every month in Wear Wag Repeat Society. I'm really excited to make some improvements and upgrades to the membership in 2025. In fact, it is going to be my main focus of next year, which means I am clearing the decks, or however that saying goes. I'm wiping the slate clean, and I am running a sale on all of my other existing courses and services. So that sale is going on now through December 31st, and it is literally the last time to get access to things like my Pinterest for Petpreneurs Masterclass, one-on-one coaching sessions via Zoom, and it's also your last chance to hire me to write your email welcome sequence for you. So if you want to check that all out, it is at wearwagrepeat.com/courses. You can also go to my Instagram at Wear Wag Repeat and find it at the link in bio and my first pinned post. It's pretty much everywhere that you look because it is the last time that you're going to be able to get these things. So I don't want anyone to miss out or feel like, oh, I was going to get that and now it's gone. So get your paws on these great offers and courses and services that I have, and get ready to set yourself up for a really awesome 2025. I am here to support you and cheer you on the entire way. And I'll tell you everything that I know that might help you. So I'm really excited to learn more about what you're working on next year. Please reach out to me on Instagram, or you can email me and let me know about it. But for right now, without further ado, let's get into this interview with Stacy. I think you're really going to enjoy getting to know her. Stacy Pong is a relationship building expert and founder of The Exchange, an innovative membership community that makes networking more authentic and less intimidating for freelancers and online service providers. With a rich background in sales and recruiting, she honed her expertise in reading personalities and building meaningful relationships during her time in the hospitality industry. Stacy's approach to networking helps online businesses move beyond simple social media interactions to create lasting professional partnerships that spark unlimited growth and new experiences. When she's not connecting entrepreneurs, you'll find Stacy at her favorite spin studio, where she's been a dedicated member for over 6 years, or exploring outdoor malls and dog parks in Southern California with her Pembroke Welsh corgi, Hashbrown. Together, they bring joy to their community, with Hashbrown sharing her mom's natural talent for connecting with both humans and four-legged friends alike. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for being on the podcast and talking to us about networking.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So I am just going to dive right into it, because I think working in the pet industry, one of my kind of secret things for getting people to open up to me or to talk to people at like anything from a party to someone at a coffee shop to a customer service person, I always lead with asking them about their pets. So I was kind of thinking that being in the pet industry, we have kind of a built-in advantage to starting conversations and connecting with people because we can always ask about their pets. So I was wondering if you had any advice around this and how we could kind of use it to make networking feel more authentic and less forced.
Yeah, it's a great question, especially if you're visiting someone's house, they have a pet, you're like, oh, this first, probably greet them before you greet, your friend or whoever you're visiting. And it's such an easy conversation starter. How to be authentic? Well, I think it's just to remember why we have them. So many of us have pets for companionship, a sense of responsibility, just making memories and the bonding. And at the very least, we have that in common with anyone who has a pet. And so I think just making sure that whatever it is you're talking about is relatable. Pets have personalities, they have habits, and I love personally finding out more about somebody else's. Like especially if I'm in a corgi meetup, asking, oh, does your corgi do this, or does your dog do this, that sort of thing. But that's really just the best thing, the relatability factor, and even asking for advice and feedback. We care for them, and asking for like a good local vet or pet store it's gold for you.
Yes, I think you've touched on so many things. So first of all, I love that like even when we're thinking of networking, I feel like we're always like, okay, I need to like get some business opportunities out of this. But it doesn't always have to be that like upfront about it. Asking someone for a recommendation on what vet they use could be your foot in the door, right?
Absolutely. It's so disarming when you're just asking for help, because they probably have looked for it too, or needed some sort of advice at some point helping their pet.
Right. And so then if you like follow up on any of their recommendations, then you can circle back.
Yes. Yeah. Especially if you get their information. It's a little harder, I think, when you go to maybe a dog park, unless you ask how often, hey, do you come here often? That sort of thing. Yeah, especially, well, I like to ask, what other dog parks, what other, places you've taken them to, depending on where you are. Think about the situation. Maybe it's I don't know, I've seen those like Halloween costume contests, that sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
what was your dog last year? There's always some sort of connection you can make based on where you are.
Right. Well, and something else that you made me think of is that I have a couple different like local places that I go to with my dogs, and there's people there that I've known for like 15 years.
Wow.
And I don't know what they do for a living at all. And
Yeah.
I bet you that the regular day-to-day dog friends that we see out with our dogs, that like you know their dog's name, but you don't really know their name, and you probably have no clue what they do. It would be a good
Guilty.
this would be like a really good opportunity of people to network with.
Sorry, you're calling me out because I know my neighbor's dog's name and not his name. I can't remember his name for the life of me, or his wife or his daughter. But every time we walk by, it's okay. I don't think they know mine either. I think they always say, "How's Hashbrown?" And I go, "How's Riley?"
Yeah, no, I'm
But
sure
it's
it's
true.
mutual. It's not your fault at all, but this is like, I mean, talk about like low-hanging fruit. I'm always like, go for the low-hanging fruit. Just like do what's easy first. Maybe like just asking some of your doggy friends their name and what they do
Yeah,
could open up a lot of doors for you.
absolutely. Maybe even, working from home versus not. How does your dog do when you're not home? Or what's your schedule typically like with your pet? It kind of opens the door to a little bit more about them personally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I think talking about our pets is really great for people who are maybe a little introverted. And I know that you have a lot of kind of tactics, and you're just passionate about helping introverted people network, because a lot of us online business owners, the idea of going to some like a networking event sounds like a nightmare. So you were telling me about your WIN framework and how it can help introverted business owners, like maybe a lot of us pet people. Can you just tell us more about what that WIN framework is?
Yeah, of course. So I'm an ambivert. So I have a social bed. I'm extroverted, introvert, or ambivert. We hear of that often. It's kind of just gained its popularity recently. So I have a social battery, and I know when that's out, it's out. But one of the things I hear from my fellow introverts is that they always forget to ask questions. And it's the one thing that's likely missing from their interactions and conversations because it keeps the conversation going. And asking open-ended questions are key. That is really important. So my WIN framework, it's really an acronym, W-I-N. So the W in WIN is what? What inspired you to start your business? And why this question works is it encourages them to talk about their passion and their journey and create a deeper connection. Maybe there's something that they say about their journey, as a pet owner, and you can actually ask another follow-up question to that. The I in WIN is identify something unique. Tell me something I wouldn't know about your business, your pet, or whatever by maybe reading your website or whatever that might be. It depends on the situation there, but you can kind of tweak that question. And this is great because it invites the other person to share something unique and personal besides a professional, which is great. The N in win is a notable recent win. What's a recent win that put a smile on your face? This encourages them to share positive experiences. It helps create like a light, uplifting conversation. And maybe they don't have an answer right away, and that's okay. But you can also learn so much about somebody by what they count as, a win. And they can take it either direction, and it leaves it really open. But the power of asking questions, just in general, making sure that the questions are open, you're inviting somebody to share a little bit more about themselves is important. And you can ask almost anything as long as you're curious and you ask politely, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Don't start with like, what is your biggest failure?
Yeah, I know, right? Something negative. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a
So,
good
would you
one.
say that forgetting to ask questions is one of the biggest mistakes that you see small business owners make when they try to do networking?
Yes, I would say preparation. I mean, it kind of falls
Mm,
under this giant umbrella of general preparation, whether you're networking in person or virtually, it doesn't matter. The level of preparation that you might need or I might need is not the same. What we find to be uncomfortable about networking or having a conversation it's all different. It's situational, and you have other things going on in your life too, personally. So the preparation around it, you're asking the questions and your elevator pitch. There's a lot that comes into that goes into networking. So I would just say find a way that you can prepare to help you feel most comfortable.
So whether that's like thinking of some questions in your head or like sometimes you kind of know the people who you're going to be networking with, or you can like see their names. So you could maybe look them up on LinkedIn or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And if you have to go, if it's a, the normal, I guess, speed network normal, I say normal, quote unquote, is speed networking, which is terrifying for introverts. Like that's the last thing you want to do is talk about yourself, brag, all of that. But there is a way that you can prepare for it. And I'll share a story a little bit later about a dear friend that I was helping. But figuring out who you're talking to, and there can be variations of this pitch, if you will, about how you introduce yourself. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just kind of preparing your pitch because while you're thinking, "Oh, I'm going to ask these people these questions," they're going to turn around and ask you the same questions.
Right.
So, it's a good idea to kind of have some preparation on that side as well.
And practice makes perfect. Your first time doing it, or maybe you draft something, you write something out, and you're like, okay, I know I want to make sure I say this about myself or my business, and you forget. The next time is going to be so much better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Stacy, I'm gonna turn around on you and walk the walk here. And I'm gonna ask you what inspired you to start your business because I was looking at your website and reading about your awesome dad. So I think that might have something to do with your what, but you tell me.
Oh my gosh. I feel like, I mean, he came after. Of course, he's an inspiration, being an entrepreneur himself and just being a power connector. But for me, it was when I left the corporate world, I started as a freelance copywriter. And being a freelancer, my gosh, nobody prepares you for what that's like being an entrepreneur, business owner, what have you. And I was in communities connecting with other people. And then I was connecting them with other people and asking so many questions and just getting all this great information, but I was wondering why people weren't doing it. And so I got, even more curious and started asking around, why aren't you doing it? And when I realized, oh, the reasons I heard the excuses, I'm afraid, I don't know how, or what's the benefit? All of these little things. And I gathered them and I was just like, well, what if I could help people do this for their business? What if I could teach that? I mean, my background in corporate sales was so helpful and allowed me to work with so many different personality types. And I've been with some of the worst, I've been with some of the best. Um, but nobody really prepares you for that as a business owner because you do have to show up. You do have to kind of sell yourself, right? Market yourself and that sort of thing. Um, so that was really why I said I realized people weren't doing it and I wanted to help them do that for themselves. So I started the Exchange, an online networking community to help them do that. And we talk about all of these other things that we just kind of talked about: the elevator pitch, how to ask questions, identifying your referral partners or collaborative partners. Who are they or who could they be?
Mhm.
There's so much to it that we cover inside the Exchange, but it's been now my project for the last 6 months, and I realized later after creating it that my dad had this kind of knack for connecting, and I saw it, but I didn't realize it at the time when I was a
It was
kid.
like subliminal messaging to you.
Yeah, I mean, sifting through his paper Rolodex, and now I'm dating myself, but like, it was amazing, and he has since passed. But I wish he would know that this is what I'm doing now. I think he'd be really proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like he also just loved to talk to people and ask questions
Yeah.
and yeah.
And help. Yeah, that's really what it is. Use your skills to help others. How can I do more of that? And that is what really just lights me up about the Exchange.
Yeah. Well, and it almost the way you're describing like networking, it's almost just like karma,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
just referring people to other people, helping other people out, and it kind of comes back to you.
It does. It does. And even when I started as a copywriter, asking my clients questions to help them tell their story and share more of themselves with their audience was the most fun I had. It wasn't the writing part. It was being with my clients and asking the questions and taking it down a different road and just following the twists and turns of the conversation. It's so much fun.
So bringing it back to like pet industry people. So a lot of people listening here are maybe dog trainers or pet sitters or pet content creators, or they have an online store or something. Um, how could they kind of use this relationship focused networking, this like asking questions, having conversations? How could they use this to potentially find partners through, I'm thinking maybe just like veterinarians' offices or groomers. I'm always thinking like there's so many pets going in and out of the vet and the groomer. Like, how can we help each other out? And like, what would be a good way to approach those business owners or those service providers in a way that they don't feel like this person's trying to get something from me? I always feel like a little insecure about that
Yeah.
when I'm reaching out to people, but I do think that a lot of people listening here and myself too, we genuinely want to help and we want to help pets. And so, do you have any advice on how to kind of broach those kinds of partnerships, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, start talking about the pet first. I think that's just an easy go-to, but maybe are you asking about like how to identify who?
Or just like maybe you have identified, maybe like I'm thinking for me, there's a vet office right around the corner from my house. And if I were a dog trainer, which I'm not really, but if I were a dog trainer, what a great opportunity. If any of their veterinary clients have some training needs, they could maybe refer them to me. But it's a little intimidating to just walk in there and say like, "Hi, I'm a dog
Yeah.
trainer."
Yeah.
Like, I guess how can we network with people like that in a way that's like cooperative and relationship building and asking questions and that kind of give and take, if that makes
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely. I think well, if you have the opportunity and the courage to go in person, a smiling face is the best. I mean, truly. I always say start by offering something. Give them something. A personal touch goes a really long way. Whether you're a product based service or just a service that you provide. I always I still tell my friends about my vet. I've been with him for several years now. I'd probably say 7 plus years, and they still call every single day, even leaving a voicemail after Hashbrown has had an appointment just to see how she was doing after. And it's the simplest thing. So I would say think simple and offer something, ask something. And also think about, I mean, as a business owner, what you want out of it. What is it? What is your goal? Is it, and actually, even by showing up or offering something, they see you, they hear you, they know who you are. That's one extra person, even if it's just the person at the front desk and you can't go any further than that. Um, don't overthink it. Simple things.
Right. Yeah. That one person who knows what that could lead to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of like promoting, if you need to promote your business, great. You can do that. Get creative. But I always say think small, simple, but sticky.
Ooh.
How will they remember you? What can you say if you got 5 seconds, I don't know, just to go up to the front desk of somewhere or pick up the phone to call somewhere? What could you say that will be memorable? How can you create your sticky?
Interesting. The first thought that pops into my mind, because we're dog people, is what if you were to get like the like mini snack bags of M&Ms or something?
Yeah.
So they're like individually wrapped. Put them inside of a poop bag and tie up
Yeah.
the poop bag
Oh my
and
God.
put your business card on there or whatever you want. I'm like, okay, that would stick in my mind. I'd be like,
Yeah.
who brought in a poop bag full of M&Ms
Yes.
for the office?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I don't know if we can curse on here, but You could put a tag on it and say, I hope you're not having a shitty day. Hopefully this makes it better or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And think about who you're visiting. I worked in sales. I worked in medical sales briefly before becoming an entrepreneur. And what can you do that would disarm the person that you were interacting with? Mine was showing up in scrubs so they knew that I was a part of their team. You offering poop bags, they know what that is, but what's inside of it? There's a sense of curiosity, but that does create a sense of stickiness. So what else can you do? Bring them a box of chocolate. It's the holidays. Come in with, have you seen those the dog Christmas ears or cat ears, that sort of thing?
Yeah, like a headband. Yeah.
Yeah, headband, something like that. What can you do? How can you look? How can you show up in a way that you're comfortable, but also is really disarming to the person you're approaching?
Right. And going to stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So these are all amazing in-person ideas. However, as we know, in the past few years, online networking has become a big deal. Digital networking is very common. And I've been hosting some virtual networking events, and I met you on a virtual networking event. So what are some of your top tips, I guess, for building authentic connections with people online without kind of feeling like you have to be posting on Instagram all the time, because we all know that's like not really doing it these days.
Yeah. It's not, and it's so draining. It's so much more fun for maybe I'm biased, of course, to be at a virtual event. But I would say number one, just be yourself, be human. It's simple, right? But find fun, comfortable ways that you want to share more about like who you are and your personality. It's not always about your business. I personally hate talking about business at networking events. I'm like, we'll get to that. I want to know how are you spending the holidays? How is, tell me more about your pet. Like, tell me what you do for fun. Who are you outside of everything else? And just remembering social cues and manners are still important with virtual networking. Conversations will always be a two-way street. And I encourage everyone to pay attention to like nonverbal communication as well. Even your own. For example, negative nonverbal communication, crossed arms, staring off into space. I know I've been to some networking events where the attention wasn't quite there. And not sharing your like vocal energy. That is a big thing. A smile goes a long way. So yeah, I would say those are kind of the top three, I guess, as a fourth. Be curious. Never stop learning.
Yeah. Well, no, I like that too, about just like every question doesn't have to be about someone's business.
Yeah.
There is, I think, huge value in a little bit of small talk. I remember I had this like Zoom meeting sometime like a year or two ago about this opportunity I was pursuing at the time. And it was the most like off-putting Zoom call. I got off the call and I was like, well, I'm not doing that. Because they skipped over. They're like, we don't have any time for small talk. We have to jump right into it and do this.
Oh,
And then
wow.
they were asking me all these questions like at me, and not really it wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a give and take. And it was just icky. And so I really do remember that. And I think that small talk is really valuable and important. And you get to ask people about their dog, or their recent trip they went on, or whatever it is. And you can really get to know each other that way.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry you had that experience. See, that's the
Stacy,
thing
don't
is
even worry. I've had so many worse experiences.
that's the thing. From that, you're still talking about, I'm sure how long, it was a long time ago, I imagine.
Like a year or two ago,
Yeah, a year or two ago, but you'll never forget how that made you feel.
Yeah.
And so that's, yeah. And just remembering too that it's okay if you need a minute to think about the question that was just asked. Like
Yes.
that's a part of being introverted.
I'm always telling people, don't worry about like ums and pauses, because as much as you need a second to think about what you're going to say, people need a second to process and think about what you are
Yes.
saying. So, it's just part of natural speech.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Give them a moment to breathe.
Right, right.
Yeah. Sometimes the thoughts come later.
So I would love to ask you about like a success story. Like you said, when you talk to people when you were starting your business about networking and connecting with people, and they're like, "Why? Like, what am I going to get
Yeah.
out of it?" So can you share with us like a success story of someone who you might know who might be introverted, might not be, but a business owner who's been using some of your approaches and some of your maybe your W.I.N framework to network and how it's helped them grow their business. Can you think of anything like that?
I have a few stories that are really more specific, but I think the main thing is remembering that you'll need to find a way to prepare for yourself. Um, whatever event it is that you're going to, or however you're trying to network, figure out what's missing. And like you said, that event you went to a year or two ago, that made you feel some sort of way. And if you can find out and like really tap into what makes you feel uncomfortable about networking or whatever it is you're about to do, here's some questions to get you started. How many people are there? Does it matter how many people are there? What's the agenda? Can you find out in advance if you're going to like a networking event? I like to ask that if it's really early. I'm not a morning person. I like to ask that in the morning, just to kind of find out. So you can, again, so I can better prepare myself. But I know that about myself. And so if you can ask yourself these questions about the situation and how you're going to feel, um, so you can draft your elevator pitch or come up with your simple but small and sticky, those sorts of things. That's really the way to your networking success. And I think that everybody can have that, introverts especially, um, even if it comes later. And it takes practice. So yeah, I don't know. That's not a specific story, but I think that it's so relevant because it just, you have to give yourself time to sit with it and think about what that might be.
Right, because all of our goals are different. So,
Yeah.
this episode's coming out the end of the year. It's a great time to think what your goals are for next year and just to always be rechecking in with those. And and I think that almost for any goal, some kind of networking can help you get there.
Absolutely. You never know where a connection will take you. I have repeat clients that were given to me, referred to me from somebody I networked with when I first started as a freelance copywriter almost 3 years ago. You have no idea. And I think it's just also having zero expectation. Um, Offer something and have zero expectation. Give who you are, share who you are proudly, and yeah, be willing to let go. I think if you go into networking with an expectation of, I need to get something from this, you might be disappointed.
Right. So the
Mm.
goals might be have one meaningful conversation or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And a win from that, even if you miss your said goal, is if you learn something, one thing, small thing, even about yourself when it comes to networking and you realize what you could do better in the next time, that's a win. That's awesome. And you can
Yeah.
take that into your next interaction, into your next networking event, whatever it is you're doing, and it's just going to get that much better.
I do that all the time because I hear other people's elevator pitches at the beginning
Yeah.
of like when they're like, "What do you do?" And it's like everyone has 10 seconds to say what they do. And I'm always like, how are other people wording this? How are what was sticky about what any of them said and how could I incorporate that into my thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to others. That's a great one. I love
Yeah.
that. I've done that myself.
So, Stacey, where can people go to learn more about you and the exchange if they want to get involved?
Of course, I'd say the easiest is probably my website. It's just stacypong.com. I really do live across social media. As somebody who loves to connect, I sprinkle my connection seeds everywhere. My handle is at stacy.pong. Um, and I'm on TikTok and Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. Find me,
Awesome.
connect with me. Yeah, I love
She's
coffee chats as well.
everywhere.
I am everywhere. Everywhere I can build a connection. And the same goes for my friends too. I have so many apps. But I love it. Don't be a
Yeah.
stranger. Happy to.
All right, cool. Yeah, everyone connect with Stacy. And I'll put more information in the show notes at wearwagrepeat.com. And if you were walking your dog or driving somewhere, you'll be able to find the W.I.N framework and some of the questions that Stacy mentioned that can help you kind of, get started in your networking journey. So thank you again so much for taking the time to talk with us. It's been really fun to talk with people who are like outside of the pet industry, but still have pets and love pets and understand why we do what we do. So thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Some of the best conversations happen after the episode. Send me a note on Instagram at Wear Wag Repeat, or find even more women petpreneurs to connect with in our private Facebook group called Wear Wag Repeat Labs. If you want to dig into more episodes, resources to grow your business, or find a link to something we discussed, it is all right there for you at wearwagrepeat.com. I'll see you back here next Wednesday for a fresh conversation.